Hi, everyone. This is Cindy Royal, and I'm happy to be with you again today for another of my series of interviews speaking with SJMC alumni about how the coronavirus pandemic is particularly affecting them. And today I'm with Carly Hohl. Hi, Carly. Thanks for joining
Hi
me.
there.
And Carly is the Vice President of Client Services for a company called Mighty Citizen, and they are a digital branding and marketing organization. Carly was in our program as a PR major, graduated in 2008, I believe, and then
Yes,
2010 with a master's degree from us. So she has really progressed in her career since she left our program, and I'm really glad to be talking with you today.
absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So first of all, talk a little bit about what you do at Mighty Citizen.
Absolutely. So, like you mentioned, Mighty Citizen is a digital communication and marketing company here in Austin. We primarily work with mission driven organizations, so folks in the government, education, association, and nonprofit sector. All over the country. Pretty wide range, everything from really complex dev builds to rebrands, logo, copy, user research, kind of everything in between. My role is I have a wide variety of responsibilities under me. I oversee our project management office, so making sure that everything is going well with our project managers and coordinators, our clients, communication is flowing both ways well. I handle a lot of resourcing conversations and figuring out who's going to be doing what projects, work really closely with our directors as well to figure out what we're going to be doing for our clients. And then I also oversee the HR for the company. So making sure that our team has what they need to get their job done and everybody feels well taken care of.
I mean, that's a big slate of responsibilities. I didn't realize you also had some of the HR functions under
Mm-hmm.
you. How are you handling all those things in an online environment?
It's been interesting. We're well set up for working remotely. Before all of this started, we had a lot of people on the team that worked remotely several days a week. Most of our development team was only in the office a day or two a week. Most of them worked from home the majority of the time. So transitioning to everybody working from home wasn't that huge of a shock because we had a lot of collaboration tools already in place, whether that's video chat. We're on Google Hangout a lot, as well as Google Chat a lot. We have a bunch of different tools and project management tools to make sure that everything's flowing well without actually having to be face-to-face in the office all the time. And especially right now when everybody's remote and also not everybody is working the same schedule at the moment, those collaboration tools and getting to see each other face-to-face are incredibly important.
So can you talk about some of the collaboration tools that you're using and maybe some of the processes you've had to put in place?
Yeah, so before we were often doing just hopping on phone calls or we would jump on GoToMeeting or Google Hangout and like people wouldn't use their video because they're like, oh, I'm working from home today, I don't need to. You'll see my face when I'm in the office tomorrow. Well, now we're really encouraging everybody to use video chat, both with clients, if clients are willing to, and then especially internally because seeing each other's faces, it helps people stay connected. And also I think it helps the communication or the conversation we're having to be able to see those facial expressions. And it's just, especially when for folks that might be the only person at their house, they don't have kids, they don't have roommates or anything like that, that connection with other people is especially important because you can go days and days without seeing another face. And then as far as, communicating outside of video, we're just making sure that everybody's being really explicit about what they need, whether that's, being communicative with their manager over Google Chat or making sure that they're keeping up to speed with their project managers. We use Teamwork, which is similar to Basecamp or Monday.com to manage all of our projects. So just making sure everything's very well documented. Things can easily get lost in translation when you're over chat or email. And so making sure that people are just being really clear with what they need or what they're delivering so that those miscommunications are as infrequent as possible.
I mean, other people have said the same thing about having something visual in these online spaces,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's having your video on or having an avatar for your Slack that's your face,
Mm-hmm.
and that it really makes a difference in this environment. And also, I can relate to the being alone in my house. And it's just been a joy to do these interviews for the past few days because I've been able to reach out and have great conversations
Yeah.
with people where I've been feeling pretty isolated.
Mm-hmm.
Now, talk a little bit about some of the changes that the entire organization has had to deal with in this pandemic. How is this affecting the company?
Well, so I think the biggest thing we're feeling right now is we have a whole separate marketing department for Mighty Citizen. We've really ramped up our speaking efforts over the last couple of years, and this year was going to be no exception. Our CMO, Rachel Clemens, was going to be on the road starting this spring, a whole bunch of different speaking events. And obviously, in the span of like 4 days, those all either got canceled or they were going to be moved to like a virtual environment. And so just kind of pivoting in how we were going to stay in front of potential clients and continue to be thought leaders in suddenly a virtual space rather than getting to be face to face with those people. And Rachel and her team have done a great job. They were quickly offering virtual consultations to people that were no longer going to get to speak with them at the conferences that they were going to be attending. And she was kind of the forerunner or the ringleader as far as those initiatives and offering that, which was great. The other thing we're seeing is that, our clients were still really busy. Our clients still need our help, but a lot of them are having to reshift their strategy or their communication plans for the year, especially folks in the association space. Obviously, conferences, events are their jam. And so how do you run those remotely? How do you communicate with your team or your constituents who maybe aren't super tech savvy on how they participate in a virtual conference? And so we're just really trying to communicate to our clients that we're here for whatever consultation or help they need to figure out how best to serve their clients. And so that's really been our focus the past 2 to 3 weeks, is getting in front of our clients and making sure they know we're here to help. On the more development side, we have a lot of clients in the government space that we've been reaching out to, making sure that, their sites are equipped to handle a lot of traffic right now, because people are obviously turning to government resources online to figure out what's happening, new shelter in place orders, that kind of stuff. And so making sure that our clients know that we're here and we have an eye on their sites to make sure that nothing goes down.
Are there particular skills or challenges that you've encountered as a leader in an organization that you can elaborate on?
Yeah, it's interesting from a hiring standpoint. We're still, before all this started, we had several positions that we were actively hiring for. And then in the span of what felt like a day, it was Friday the 13th that I felt like everything just shifted. Suddenly we couldn't have face-to-face interviews. I was trying to coordinate all staff interviews with final candidates. And that's really hard to have a dozen plus people on a Zoom call trying to interview one person at the same time. And so we really had to shift our recruiting efforts and how we handled that. But we're moving forward and we're finalizing those offers and stuff like that, which is great. We have not put anything on hold. So that's been a little bit different. I think also just making sure that we're checking in with our team more. Before, when we were all in the office, it was really easy just to walk by and just poke your head into someone's space and say, hey, how are you doing today? Or you seemed kind of stressed out in that meeting. That's not as easy to do when everybody's remote, especially if they're not using their video chat. It's hard to pick up on those stressors. And so I've been really diligent about reaching out to people over chat and just saying, hey, how are you feeling today? Do you need to take a mental health day? Do you need to change your schedule for the week? That's another thing we've been really trying to reiterate with our team is flexibility. We have a lot of people on the team that have small kids or kids that they're suddenly now homeschooling while also trying to work full time. It's just not realistic to work a standard 8 to 5 while doing that. And so, we have people that are working early in the morning and then they sign off for part of the day and then they're on later in the day to catch up. It's totally fine. We're making that work. But we just really want to make sure that people know that we have their backs and we're here for whatever they need.
I mean, these might be good techniques to carry on into the future after this crisis is over, to have more
Absolutely.
empathy about unique situations,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you have a diverse workforce.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that it's also allowed us to be more creative. We had before, when everybody was in the office, we had monthly team luncheons. We do like a monthly walk around. We're over on the east side. And so we would walk around the neighborhood together, that kind of stuff. And so we have someone on the team that really focuses on operations and culture. And she's been fantastic about doing this stuff virtually. So we've been doing virtual happy hours once or twice a week, just to make sure everybody's staying connected. It's so easy, heads down. You don't talk to anybody on chat for like 6 hours at a time. Like you need that connection. So we actually, today, the first of the month was our weekly walk. And so it's beautiful outside today, luckily, everybody to get outside and walk in their neighborhood and send in pictures on chat so that we could see what everybody's walk looked like. So I think that once this is all over, hopefully sooner rather than later, these are techniques that we're going to carry on because it's keeping us connected in a creative way.
That's really good to have the focus on maintaining your culture throughout this time. It's also really good to hear that companies are still hiring. And as you know, I'm going to have a lot of students that'll be graduating in the next month, not graduating in the way that they thought they were going to be graduating. They're going to have their commencements postponed, and a lot of them are disappointed about having their senior years disrupted and have a lot of anxiety about the hiring environment.
Yep.
Do you have any advice for students about what they should be doing now and how to best approach the job market?
Absolutely. I think one initial thought that I have is, so we were really pushing out messages to collect resumes for a position when everything started happening with South by. And unfortunately, they went through that big layoff, and we got a big influx of applications. And I don't know if they were people from South by, if it was just a coincidence, but we got a lot of applications that kind of seemed like people phoning in the application. They were just quickly just like bulk applying, which I completely understand in that circumstance. But especially when we're getting in 100+ applications for a job, take the time to be personable in your cover letter or in your resume and tailor it to the job you're applying for. Because taking that extra time will, especially in this market when a lot of people are applying for jobs, will set you apart from the crowd. The other thing I would say is, for companies that are still hiring, obviously they're doing it all virtually, making sure your technology is set up well to do video calls, that your internet is stable and fast so that there's not, a lag time or you don't get cut off. And just making sure that, you look like you're ready to take on the world from, your guest room or your kitchen, to still put your best kind of foot forward during that interview and treat it like an interview, even though it's kind of weird being on a video call and doing an interview. We had some really great applicants for these positions. And like I said, a lot of them, we ended up having to do virtual interviews. And you can definitely tell who was prepared to do a virtual interview and who was like, oh, wait, I'm going to be on my phone and they may see my face. So that's just something to keep in mind during this time.
Other than a resume, are there other materials that you like to see? Obviously, this will vary depending on the position that you're hiring for, but can you talk about things that you'd like to see candidates doing?
Yeah, so we still ask for a cover letter for most of our jobs, particularly like in the project management office. We get people applying that have like a wide variety of previous experiences. And so I personally find that a cover letter or some sort of descriptive that explains why maybe, the jobs that are on your resume and the titles, they aren't necessarily translated exactly to project management, but it's relevant. That's really good information to have when culling through 100+ applications. So having a cover letter that describes like why you're interested in the position, why you're interested in the company as well is great. Our job descriptions and job listings go out on Indeed. And so we will sometimes get in a lot of applications for people that, their resume doesn't look like they have any relevant experience or why they would be remotely interested in the job they're applying for. It's great to have that context to see if you think they could be possibly a good fit. Especially for design and UX in the development departments that we're hiring in, attaching any sort of portfolio that you have with not only up-to-date work, but descriptions on how you were involved in the work. That's really helpful too, to know, if you had a big project, what pieces were you responsible for, or did you do the entire thing? That's really good information to have up front.
That's really helpful as I'm getting students to finish their senior portfolios and to make them as strong as possible. And I do emphasize describing what you did, putting visuals with each of the items on your portfolio, not just a link out to something, have a paragraph that explains what you learned and why you did it. So Absolutely. This is really good advice. How about advice for people who are just now moving into a work from home environment? Lots of the country is going into a stay at home order. And,
Mhm.
what kind of things have worked for you particularly?
So for me personally, trying to keep as separate of a schedule as possible, and what I mean by that is it's really easy to have like um, home life and work life blur together when your home life and your work life are in the same location. So sticking to, okay, I'm working from these hours, I'm on chat these hours, but once these hours are finished, I'm going to be off chat and I'm going to close my computer and I'm going to go do like personal home stuff, has been really helpful. Because if not, then you're working 24/7, it feels like, or trying to work 24/7 and juggle kids at the same time and stuff like that, which a lot of people are having to do because of the circumstances anyway. The other thing is just kind of getting ready for the day. I think that I was actually joking with a couple of coworkers about the first couple of days of this. It was like, I'm in my PJs. I got a nice shirt on from the waist up so that if I'm on a video chat, it's cool. But actually getting ready for the day and keeping is the same routine as much as possible as you did when you were going into the office, for me personally has been helpful. Because if not, it kind of feels like the days blur together a little bit. Also having a dedicated workspace, if that's possible, has been helpful too, so that you're not eating where you're working and so forth.
I mean, those are all really helpful tips because I think that a lot of people are just really unprepared for what they might be encountering, and everybody's situation is a little bit different depending
Mm-hmm.
on internet connections and whether there are children or spouses who also have jobs.
Mm-hmm.
For college students, it's particularly challenging because they may be in environments that have a lot of people doing online courses. So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, we've I think the first week or so, we use like Hangouts and Zoom and GoToMeeting, depending on the client's needs. But we were really seeing a lag in some of our conferencing tools because I think everybody was at home and the systems were freaking out a little bit, which is huge. I mean, when you're trying to present designs on a conference call and the internet is going back and forth, like that's not great. And so, kind of figuring out those kinks, it's gotten a little bit smoother and stuff like that. And I feel like this is what, week 3. I don't know. It kind of blurs together a little bit. We're kind of getting our groove.
And how is everyone at Mighty Citizen?
They're good. We a week or two before the actual official shelter in place, we let everybody know, we're not closing down the physical office, but we highly encourage you to work from home if you possibly can. And also gave really strict mandates that if you do not feel well, whether you have symptoms that are related to the virus or not, do not come into the office. And so by the time that the official shelter in place came down, we were basically already all working from home. So we kind of had a good head start on kind of getting into the swing of things. And so I think for the most part, everybody's doing okay. Like I mentioned, where all the directors are checking in regularly with their staff. We actually gave the whole company an extra week of PTO during this time, just to encourage them to take some mental space and mental health days if they need it, because this is a stressful time for everybody.
Well, please give them all my best. And I'm
I
so
will.
happy that things are going well for you. Thanks so much for spending time with me this morning.
Absolutely. You're doing wonderful work over there, and I hope everything is going well for you.
Thank you. We're really proud of the work that you're doing.
Thanks, Cindy.